When did you move into all this?
Most of this, if you notice, keep happening around the migration time.
When did this growth happen?
Started with 6,000 birds.
Was it difficult?
No poultry in India at that point.
Many parts of India still being primarily a vegetarian country.
I don't think we are vegetarian country as such.
How professionally is the industry run now compared to what it was earlier?
It's the second best food for humans after mother's milk. We should definitely be eating 200 plus eggs.
Why do you think so? What's the reason behind?
We have the cheapest egg in the world. Today, India is number 2 in egg production globally.
Where the next generation is just not interested in farming.
There's really nobody in the world who's doing better than us.
Where do you think the real growth is coming from?
How much was US eating when they were $2,000 per capita?
Is it individual consumptions, or do you think it's a big restaurant change on others?
I think India's vegetarian thing is always about access and availability.
How is the industry taking up that standard challenge?
Now, do you really want that in India? I would not like that.
Welcome to Conversations on HYBIZ. I'm Suresh Chitturi. There is this old saying, or rather the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And for many, that question still persists. It's been years and years now, but people still ask the question, even in the corporate parlance. Whenever there's an issue, they ask the same question. But somebody who knows more about the chicken and egg is here with me today. And he is none other than Suresh Chitturi, Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Srinivasa Farms. The Suresh Chitturi has seen it, done it, dusted, and been through this industry for ages now. And there's no other better person to speak about it than him. Welcome, sir.
Welcome, Suresh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
It's been quite some time you spoke.
Yes.
Actually, the last time was during the COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, the world changed after COVID, because before this we used to say BC and AD, but now we say before COVID and after COVID.
Yes.
So that is the difference. So my preliminary question to you would be, can you take us through a background of where you hail from, your parents, your siblings, your education and all that?
Yeah, Suresh. So, parents are from East Godavari. They're on the Godavari, river, but from the other side, opposite sides of Rajahmundry. Mom is from Raghudevapuram, which is south of Rajahmundry, and dad is from Kurla, which is on the other side. Near Ravulpalam and going towards Kotlingal. So they came to Hyderabad in 65, so on Dashara day they started Srinivasa Farms in Uppal. So it will be our 60th year now in a few months.
Wow.
Since dad started this business. He started with 6,000 birds, which when you think about in 1965, 6,000
big thing.
Was very big. Because it's probably like somebody started with 10 lakh birds today, right? But in today's scheme, we say it's a small farm, but it was not. And because there was no poultry in India at that point. Logically, I don't know if we were ranked in the top 90 countries or 75 countries at that point. But, we were always a large country, so maybe we had some more. But anyway, that's how it started. Dad completed his master's from Jadavpur.
Okay.
And he was quite heavily influenced by communist thinking and all
That's
that.
a communist university, by the way.
Yeah. So, so he came back to the village after he finished his master's. Then, family was in bit of financial stress. Nobody, was really managing anything. So he saw that we had a lot of debt, and if we don't quickly deal with this, then everything will be gone. So he dealt with that. And then he was thinking of going to Kakinada to start a small medical shop, because he wanted to get into some business. That is when one of my mom's brothers, first cousins, who all grew up together, but he was from the second ever batch of IIT Kharagpur. Second year after Kharagpur, IIT started, he joined. And then he moved to US in 58. And then he started working for US Air Force, which the headquarters is in Dayton, Ohio. So he came back for his wedding. That's when he told dad, US poultry is picking up like crazy. We all sometimes forget that all these countries start somewhere and are young, right? So pretty much dad, he was saying, these lot of chicken farms, egg farms are starting in and around Dayton. And in our country, we are not getting, our children don't get anything. We're not getting good diet. So then it triggered for dad, hey, this is what the country needs, and it's like something. So that's when he moved to Hyderabad to start a farm rather. Which to again fun. The thing is, my grandfather never came to our house because he felt my dad was doing something very crappy. Who does chicken farming, right? So he would come to Hyderabad but never come to our house. So in some ways, my dad is still scared about that. But then I keep telling him, this is crazy, Anyway, so that's how we started. And eventually in 70, they started Venkatesh Hatcheries. During that time period, he met
Sure.
B.V. Rao and they became good friends. And in 70, they started Venkatesh Hatcheries. And through that, we kind of built the Indian poultry industry. Today, India is number 2 in egg production globally. And chicken, we are number 4. Both of these, and especially on eggs, I think over the next 20 years, we should get to number 1 because as the way it's growing and all that. Chicken, yes, we have to see how that goes because some of them are very, very heavy eaters of non-veg meat, right? We, on the other end, are not like that. But it's increasing. So that's the thing.
So when did you move into all this? Because, okay, the dad started the business, but the second generation, if you can call it.
I feel I was there from day one, Suresh. I mean, because I was born when I was in Uppal and on the farm literally. I mean, since Gandhi Hospital, but very quickly we moved to the farm. So first, at least 8-10 years of my life was in the farm. So I at least 7 or 8. I think when I was in the 3rd class, we moved to city. But otherwise, we were always on the farm. So we were always around chickens. And the entire action was happening live in front of my eyes, right? Because Venkatesh Hatcheries was being built. All meetings used to happen in our house in Uppal. So all the big people of the industry at that point, they were all coming, sitting there, and and then they would. So I was watching all that, and I was always more interested in that because it looked like, one, there was no TVs then. There was nothing, right? I mean, you talk about nothing was there. And I was always very inquisitive and always, full of wanting to learn new things and all that. So I was, and that was where the action was happening, right? I mean, you could see there's a lot of excitement going on there. So my mind was always there. So at some level, yes, I was always involved in that. One running issue with me and my dad always when I was growing up was I used to be more interested in his files than my books. And he was really pissed about that. He used to say, focus on your books and all that. See, but school was in many ways easy for me because getting 70-80 marks or 60-70 was not, I didn't need to do anything.
Which was your school, sir?
St. Paul, initially it was St. Anne's till 3rd class. I was the last boys batch every year, so they were St. Anne's Tarnaka. So it used to be co-ed till certain point.
I think even Bolaram had the same thing actually, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same school.
Same school.
That's what it Tarnaka, we used to call it. But I was the last. Every year I was finishing, there was ending boys. And 3rd class was the last. So that's when eventually decision was made that we'll move to city. And then I moved to St. Paul's.
Okay.
And then left JC. So as I said, school was quite easy for me. Okay. But the problem was I was never really motivated to be top of the class and all that, So I used to do more reading a lot. I had a British Library membership when I was in 8th class. So I used to go there, read. So, and then getting those stuff to know more was what I was always... And fortunately, Dad was also, we used to get like almost every newspaper printed. Telugu I was not reading, but English we were reading, and we used to get Newsweek, we used to get Time, we used to get Fortune. In those days, I'm talking of 80s. So go through that and see what's happening around the world, and used to live with that. And so that way, as I said, poultry was always there in the background, So coming back and running the business was always my ambition.
When did this growth happen? You're talking of small-time business then. And when did B.V. Rao, being the father of the industry in India, Then you have the NECC and their campaigns and everything that is built up. But India being primarily, many parts of India still being primarily a vegetarian country, encouraging people to eat more chicken, consume more eggs. Um, was it difficult?
Suresh, interesting thing is when you look at, I was one day, somebody was mentioning something, and then I went and did a study, right? I mean, you didn't have the tools you have today, but I probably still have to go back and again do that. How much was US eating when they were $2,000 per capita?
Okay.
You'll be surprised they're not eating differently from how India. Of course, they were eating a lot more meat. And I think we also, I think part of this thing, and also you keep doing that. I'm discovering ourselves in the last 10 years, a lot of things we were told and myths and all that. And, I don't think we are a vegetarian country as such, right? Sure, we eat a lot more vegetarian because the point was we always had too many people. Always we were one of the most heaviest populated people.
Yeah.
And of course, we didn't have farming then, right? And there was limit to how many animals, if you were not farming, and if you're living off nature, how many animals can take care of when numbers are adding like that, right? So I think India's vegetarian thing is always about access and availability, right? At some point, they made it like only certain people will eat, and that's how we have evolved over time, right? And then of course, then certain people started making it like, oh, this is because of very, very different reasons were ascribed. But that's one side of it, right? Sure, we through the campaign we did in Ande Khao and all that, we highlighted that to people, but that was frankly any real work that happened by us was in late 80s and early 90s. After that, again, we have not done anything. People still remember that only. Who remembers what we did last year or even last 5 years and all that, right? Because, point is, one thing I have about our leadership in the past or in the intermediate period was no imagination. They were thinking that they could still do what was done in 80s, 90s. It's, just no application of mind, right? The world has changed now, right? Today, you ask me, we should definitely be eating 200 plus eggs because science is very clear. Like one scientist was saying, it's the second best food for humans after mother's milk.
Okay.
Right? Because this is the only one that in nature, closest match to mother's milk is an egg. Right?
True.
And I'm not saying it's the only food. So please let me be clear on that. I would find it very boring if I only have to eat eggs. Right? I love all the things.
Doctors prescribed it. By the way, my wife was a vegetarian and underwent a serious medical procedure. She was asked, because she's a vegetarian, she anyway takes egg. Doctor says every day you need to take 6 eggs.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, right? I would say a minimum, a good number is about 4 eggs, and we can explain that later why I say that. I eat 4 to 6. My father at 94, he eats 3 eggs a day. My son eats 10 eggs a day. But the point is, it is one of the, again, I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it's one of the laziest and bestest things to do to yourself and to your health, to eat at least 2.
Okay.
Of course, sometimes, and there are, of course, politics, they keep talking. But what I tell my industry is, if the entire country starts doing it overnight, we can't supply, because you can't scale up, double or triple you can't, even doubling every 7 years is going to create issues. Okay. Because you need to get feed for it, you need to, manage them properly. There are disease issues, labor issues, so many things, the rate at which we are growing is what is comfortable all around. Okay. Today, in spite of we having feed, which is about between minimum of 30% to sometimes as high as 80% higher than, say, US or Brazil, we have the cheapest egg in the world. So, and that structure will break if, both of them, we grow too fast or, the demand grows too fast. So demand is doing good for us, but there's definitely an opportunity because because these children who are there, these youngsters and all that, right? Some of the data, Suresh, is really scary. A mother not having proper nutrition while she's pregnant, the child can never make up in their entire life. I didn't know that.
Oh.
When they presented that, it is like crazy. The penalty for the rest of the life is
not taking care during those 9 months.
But they don't know that, right? I mean, it's not because it's already a tough period. Now, who's giving them that knowledge, right? So, like an egg a day, solves a lot of that.
I think it's also the education part, because I come from Kerala. Again, I keep repeating this everywhere, where maternal mortality and infant mortality are the least. It is as good as better than US actually. But that is because there is a basic education for the mother to know what to consume and what to take, milk or eggs or
so they are, so there's a lot of, just other day I was in a Thai meeting, so we were sharing my story. They wanted to know. But then, even educated people are stuck in so many myths. And so it's two ways I look at it. One, okay, that's the reality, and that's how it's been built. Two, it's also an opportunity for us right now. Sometimes that's what I struggle, because there's so much I can tell you good about this, but how do you put it in a way in this TikTok generation to give the message out in 5 seconds? So
the Instagram generation.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah.
No, but the question is also the industry, from where you grew up in Uppal to where it is now. In terms of the growth that has happened over the last, say, almost 40, 50, 60 years, there would have been obviously a consolidation that happened. The growth happened at the same time. You said India is now the second largest egg consuming state. But how professionally is the industry run now compared to what it was earlier?
So at the production level, we are very, very good, right? At the operation level and production level and all that. It's now you could say, okay, we are not run like how it's run in Europe or US or something like that, right? But do we really want that? That's the question, right? Now, if in US you look at it, the entire and US egg industry is almost, only now they've gone to number 3, but they were number 2 for a lot of time, right?
There was a lot of culling that happened in between.
And the other problem also is that if you see now, that entire operation is being run by less than 30 companies.
Okay.
Right? Now, do you really want that in India? We have 25,000 farmers producing eggs. We have close to 1 million farmers in chicken and egg in this country. Right? I would not like that. I mean, I might be one of them, but the point is, I think that is a very, very dumb idea to get to that level of consolidation. On the other end, also recognize, Suresh, we will be doubling, right? So I tell you, our 60 years history will keep repeating every 7-8 years. We'll keep adding.
The pace of growth has grown basically. The number of years,
and that's happened, right? I mean, I made this statement in 14, and I did that. Somebody said, "Sir, you said this in 14, and it's happened." How I said it will keep doubling and all that. So because that's a function of being in a large, the largest country in the world, and people are changing, eating, and all that, right? So that is there, that is given. It comes up with its own issues, of course, but then that's how it is going to be. You cannot control everything that way. So there's some consolidation happening for sure. Like I always like to give this example. When my sister got married in 94, I think, if I'm not wrong. 94 I got married, maybe in 87, 88. We had close to 6,000 farmers come for the wedding.
Wow.
Right? Because,
that's your family.
Yeah. So when I got married in 94, that number was probably 4,000. Right? But the industry doubled in that time period. Right? And when my younger sister got married in 97, that number came down to 3,500. But the industry again doubled, more or less. Or our sales, let's say Srinivasa's sales had doubled. When my son got married now in 2-3 years back, we probably invited, but this was all India. That was only from Andhra, right? We had only invited people from Andhra at that point and a few from Telangana. That number came down to 500-600,
Okay.
But the size of industries are 4 or 5 times now. So some amount of that is happening, right? But then most people made a choice to move out because the real estate went up, or they're doing something else. Children are in IT now, or something like that, right? So that's how it is growing. But
that's
now,
one question. Sorry, I'm interrupted. Carry on, sir.
No, please go ahead.
The one question I had when you mentioned next generation, and not, it's happening in farming, by the way, where the next generation is just not interested in farming. It's happening in many sectors where the younger generation feel it's not remunerative. At least chicken and egg is still remunerative. And they're moving out to new sectors like, as you said, IT, or getting into something else which they want to do. Do you think you spoke about one problem about labor at one end, which is a basic bottom part of it, and then you have the people who should run the show? So do you think it's coming to a stage where the non-serious players are exiting and you have only the serious players, which you really explained in terms of the number of people who attended those weddings in your family? So do you think that is actually happening?
And it's natural that it happens, Suresh, because as countries are developing, right? I mean, they become more urbanized, right? And it's a natural follow, right? So there was some data I remember reading some 10, 12 years back, right? India at that point was 200 something million people in cities. 2030 it will probably go to something like 400 or 500 million, I think, we are on the way. And by 2050 it will be something like 800, 900 million people. But even then we'll only be 50% urbanized, right? A country like Japan is 90% urbanized, right? Or most other countries around the world, as they develop, that's what it happens, right? So anyway, having 50% of your population dependent on agriculture is unsustainable, right? Does agriculture need that much, right? It doesn't. So other things are, so it's natural that some of them move away. And it's natural that some of them, and agriculture is not remunerative, because fundamentally, I would say, because our politics of a country, it's one place. I don't know how we will solve that. But if we do need to rethink, because it's really crazy. Our productivity is one of the lowest, right? There's a tax that as a country we are paying for it. Farmers have been, I don't know what is the right word for that, Suresh, but
spoiled for choice.
It is not. There's no choice, right? Where is the choice? But the problem, I think, is, instead of, like in poultry, right? We will tell you, there's really nobody in the world who's doing better than us. We can proudly claim that, right? We are always like, at least we're there in the top 5 in terms of productivity and all that. Some of the choices we made because of that will probably never be number 1, because we don't need to be. We are always worried about how do we reach our consumers at the best price, the lowest price. So as I said, we have our feed costs. Like today, I can get makka from US for 18 rupees, but I'm buying at 26 rupees in the market, in Indian market. Right? If it opens up, we'll get it for 18 rupees from
Trump
US.
is sending you agriculture produce.
So and it's at some point it will happen, because but then that's a different story. But then, we are not focused on that. US is claiming an average of 11 tons per hectare. We are at 2.2 tons on that. Look at our dairy, right? I mean, US or Israel and all that are talking of 12,000 liters per animal. We are at 2,000 something. So now, if we look at how much we are wasting, right? So somebody was telling me an interesting number some years back, that if India can double its milk production, right? Because it will need that for sure as we are going forward. But then the point is, if only you can take animals from the 2,000 liters in those days, he says if you can go to 4,000 liters, you can produce that milk with less number of animals.
Just like what you're talking about in the poultry industry.
Yeah. So in poultry, we have done that, right? But then now that is the point, right? Whatever it is, right? It's the politics of the country, especially, getting farmers worked up and taking them for a ride is become a game.
Norm today, and MSPs and everything.
So how do you get out of that, right? Now with MSP and all that, where is the question of working on productivity?
Anyway,
what do you care, right? And while I have, great respect for Swaminathan ji. But that was, I think he didn't serve the nation in recommending that formula. Right? That's the other thing I say, I said, as much as I love Gavaskar, right? Now imagine him still being in the team. Right? At some point, all of us have a shelf life
need to move out.
to be out. Right? And you can't blame, Swaminathan ji for that. It is people who are, and it's difficult also, right? If anything I say, then it's like, oh, you are criticizing him. But that was not
That's
a smart
true. That
thing.
I think is a part of the game, actually. Because one point I always keep asking myself is, when we today talk of agriculture, we talk of dairy, we talk of, fisheries, prawn culture, big business in Andhra side. Then we talk of chicken and egg also into that. And then various other meats that is also being done. Now, the obvious part is, do you see a shifting between these sectors, or just traditional farmers who have been cultivating, say, chicken, in a sense, growing chicken, selling eggs, are still there? Or do you see new people coming into this business?
No, youngsters will come into place because as the scale is there, we are, as I said, we'll keep growing, like with Viksit Bharat, whatever, when we're talking about that, so 2047. So my estimation is the industry will grow between 4 to 7 times.
What's the size now, sir?
So we are about close to 4 lakh crores.
That's
right?
huge.
And of course, there's an inflation factor also to add. So it will be quite big.
And how are the margins, sir?
Margins are good generally. I mean, that's why it is growing. People are
So
adding.
if your feed cost reduces, then your margin again goes up, isn't it?
But you have to. There will be no reality that the feed cost will go down, right? I mean, it will only keep going up at some point. But the point is, how can we be smarter about it? How do we help that farmer? So one thing, Suresh, you have to understand is, so a field which is producing, say, 2 tons, and a field which is producing 5 tons. What do you think is the absolute money the farmer is spending for both of them? What do you think is the difference?
I think it's the play for the bigger one is the different. In a sense, like he spends
no,
more.
that I said, but I'm just asking you. Say it takes 10,000 to produce 2 tons.
2 tons.
How much do you think it takes to produce 5 tons? What is the cost difference in absolute number? You'll be surprised it's not much.
That's the same thing, almost same.
Almost. So it will only take maybe 15,000 rupees.
So the question is also in terms of consumption of chicken. We just come back to that part of it. Eggs consumption is anyway happening. And we're seeing a variation in price. The other day I was seeing that the guy below my house who sells it for 6 to 7 to sometimes 8 rupees an egg. And then you have go to the neighborhood KPN or Reliance, and then it is 120 a dozen. So the variations are there. Of course, they justify it by it's a stress-free bird and all that kind of stuff. When it comes to chicken, because that's where the entire thing is, you have branded chicken outlets today. You have KFCs of the world who sell those chickens based on, absolute branding as such. At the same time, we consume chicken at home and all this kind of stuff, cooking which happens. Where do you think the real growth is coming from? Is it individual consumptions, or do you think it's a big restaurant chains and others? And is there a change in terms of the way they source this product also?
So one, I think I'll give you one stat, right? In 1950, a housewife in US was spending 2.5 hours cooking every day, right? And now I think it's come down to about 5 minutes or 6 minutes.
Processed.
Right? On an average, right? So now there are parts of India where that is true now already, right? So eventually it will move towards that, right? Nobody's going to, I think, even if they're working or not working, rather they would watch TV serials and all that rather than sit and cook, right? And of course we get help or whatever it is, but the point is that's how it's going to go. As we move forward, we all want convenience. Now it's all about wanting it quickly. and choices, right? So I think the prepared food side is going to take over more and more. So there is no doubt about it. So that is going to be the trend anyway within in India also, right? So that's one side. Now, a company like you're talking about, like a KFC or a McDonald's or anything like that. See, for them, their reputation is very important, right? If a bad products go through, Like, Kerala, right? I mean, that happened in KFC. They found,
Something.
they said rat and all that. It's just that the piece looked like that. It was not rat. But then somebody puts it on social media,
The damage is done.
right? And that goes all over the world, right? So has a heavy penalty for them in their 50,000, 60,000 restaurants around the world, right? So they are definitely, that part I will grant to them. They are very, very careful about what they buy and all that. Because on social media, people put all kind of stuff, because I've watched that system and all that. I have my certain grouses with them on how they do that and all that, but it's mostly about, how the pricing and all that. But I can't blame them also, because we are the ones going and offering in competition and all that, whatever we do. So there they are, right? I mean, so they're quite brutal on their purchase practices and all that. Some of the stuff they say, that is where I don't agree with them. Do they really care for farmers and all that is where I am. But then on the quality side, I will grant them that. The smaller guys, many of them don't care. They don't care. And, so today, actually, if you ask me, Suresh, about the imported chicken and all that, I'm not scared of the KFC. I'm scared of our guys.
Okay.
Because they will buy any cheap chicken. That is the other part, right? So that is where I think FSSI and all that are getting the act together now. They are also learning. They're getting
GHMC inspections.
That has to happen now. So, and so that way, I think those are some places where, we have to imagine certain ways in how do we transform how these things happen. But chicken consumption is also growing. It's growing faster than egg. Because, I think in terms of what your palate wants, chicken gives you more option than... So that's where we're working on how do we make eggs also more sexier for people to eat.
Healthier also. I guess when you look at red meat, beyond a certain age, beyond 50, I was told, don't touch red meat because of various health issues. But
so again, that's also, frankly, a lot of old science, practically. Because we don't eat red meat like how
the US is,
the West eats, right? Some of the West eats. So first point. And what is red meat for us? You're talking of lamb or sheep. Yes, both lamb, sheep is from a sustainability point of view, not the best animal. So that's what we want to see. Can we work on how do we improve, that and do that. Chicken is, yes, from sustainability point of view. By sustainability, I mean, what is the environmental impact of that? So chicken is one of the best proteins. Chicken and eggs are the best proteins from that point of view.
The question is also the fact that as we come to the end of this conversation, the main problem which farmers face, and you are one of the leaders in this industry, is the cyclical problem with regard to, the influenza virus and other things breaking out and the culling of birds that you see. Not just hens and this one, but even ducks are kind of, in states like Kerala, for example, ducks are also slaughtered. How do you, as an industry leader, factor this in? Because you know that there is a cyclical thing that will come no matter what we do. So in terms of, healthier alternatives, getting them inoculated regularly, how is the industry taking up that standard challenge?
So, just to give you again a little bit of this thing. So most of this, if you notice, keep happening around the migration time, right? Okay. So these viruses are mostly coming from China. Okay. Right now, it's not like the Chinese are doing something there, but that's the nature of it, right? It's always historically, for thousands of years, that's how it's been. Maybe it's because of practice of the Chinese having multiple animals on the farm, right? Typically in India, you don't have that scenario, right?
So it jumps from one animal.
So that's one side of it, and that's how it's always been, and the bats have those viruses, and it keeps jumping and all that. So that's what happens. First point. Two, I think so there's something that the industry can do. There's something that the environment, the government and all that has to do. So yesterday only there was we had a discussion in Bangalore on this, on antimicrobials and how do we control them and all that. One of our problem, Suresh, is, a lot of our policy making and all that is still stuck in, I say romantic notions, because, they have these idealism and all that, right? Not in reality or practicality, or I would say, on focused on what the nation needs, right? So our vaccination in how we do for animals and all that is one of the most, I'm telling you, I really want to use much harsher word than cumbersome, but it's definitely dumb.
Why do you think so? What's the reason behind it?
Because some British fellow wrote something in God knows when and all that, and then
Still following it.
some fellow is stuck there and all that. They do that. Now just imagine, I have all the facilities, but I'm not allowed to test for a lot of diseases. And if they find out, then I'll be in jail. That if I'm testing.
Because the bureaucracy is a stumbling block.
It's there always, right? Always that's the problem. So and many a times what happens is, that's the system is that, suddenly you have an IAS officer who
came from the coal department.
Something like that. And some of them are vegetarians, some of them are, how do you say, very strong feelings about that. And now you make them a secretary, right? And then they come into this 6 months before they retire or to 1 year before they retire. By the time they learn about it, they're out, right? So I think this is the structure of this thing also, right? So and this is not exclusive to us, but it's there. But here, that is the problem here is that how do we make you do that? And so now Bangladesh is vaccinating next to us. Nepal is vaccinating. Pakistan is vaccinating. And we are not vaccinating. And some of the vaccines, the world, the entire, US, Brazil, everybody is vaccinating. We don't vaccinate.
Is it because we don't make it? Because I thought we are the vaccine capital for human beings.
But not on, funnily, we are not on for animals. For humans, we are the topmost. But for animals, we are not.
We have Indian immunologicals and all these people.
They are there, but the product, even for them, it is like so difficult to go through the hoops. Right, and good part is they listen, right? But somebody has to talk to them, and the trust level also has to be built with them, right? So now when we say something, they listen. That's what I was telling them. I said, this is completely, look at the price you paid for the problem. Sure. Yes, we all are scared of these government officers coming and, the whole thing involved and all that. But I think now, with AI and all these coming in and all that, I think there are tools available now where, we can go out and do that. But it's not just about poultry, Suresh. I think entire agriculture
sector itself
has to be, we have not looked at it like how we have looked at, say, at IT. Right? We don't look at it, right? Because see, you have to feed our people, right? And that has always been seen as how do we subsidize, give free power, do that, and then shut up because it's easy to get those guys worked up. And it's the same in poultry also. Farmers will get excited sometimes about something totally this thing. But then we go and I have that reputation at least of being straight on that, and of course. For that, I also have to learn, Suresh. It's not like only my way is the right way. That also is not a very smart way. So I have to also learn sometimes. So when I was telling farmers something, and then I found out this, and I said, that's interesting. So immediately I changed my position and start going there. You have to be grounded on that. So I think we are now dealing with that. We have started the conversations. Like once a professor in Harvard was telling us, we were in a class and he compared India. This was around the Nirbhaya time, and what was in China. There were certain things happening, and then the professor was asking all of us, in the class. Of course, there were only few Indians, but mostly. So he was asking, what do you think after the cases were done? He was talking about what was happening in India and how things happen in China, where they can break down half a city in a month and and rebuild and all that, so then he said, India moves slowly because it has to take care of everybody
in the chain,
right? And at any given time, maybe a certain people are disadvantaged, but eventually India is taking care of everybody. And that's this thing, right? So we also have to recognize that, it's easy to say, oh, China mein aisa ho raha hai. Do you really want to be in China?
There's a different system of governance there, actually. Yeah. So the main point, you're rightly there. In terms of growth, in terms of various of the factors which you spoke about, the final thing is, of course, the pricing part of it. seasonal fluctuations again, just like you get these diseases. At the same time, in terms of ensuring that the poultry farmers are shielded against wild variations, does the industry have a kind of, I'm not talking a cartel, but at least a pricing mechanism?
So I think, see, we have to have something like that because, and there are models around the world that, Canada permits some way cartelization, but the industry leaders have to also are held responsible for what, how that whole thing works and all that. So these are models that are there around the world that we have to also, I think, quite kind of adapt. Like in US, when I was studying, so they had like gas pipelines, right? So they are monopolies. They're called permitted monopolies, but then they are really regulated on how much profit they're making, what's happening, and the amount of data they have to share. So the project for me was, the company gave my professor a project on how do we evaluate our competitors, how can we buy them out and build a model. This was early days, in 97 and all that, Excels and all that were there. So, I built a model. So that's how I learned about that. So something like that has to be looked at it, because what is happening is like if you're talking about, say, tomatoes, or okay, tomatoes is anyway perennial crop, but you're talking about a maca. 2 times a year it comes. So the day the crop is coming, the price is the lowest, right? Within 2-3 months, it changes sometimes between 30 to 100%.
Okay.
Right? Now, that's the nature of the crop. You can't change that. Eggs come every day, right? That's what we did. That's to our credit that, we've done that, and, we where maybe when dad started, a bird was laying 80 eggs. Today, we have come to 500 eggs per day, right? Per bird.
Well,
So if you have to do those things, I think somewhere we have to come up with new models on how to do that, and there are opportunities there and all that. I think so. We are working on certain things like that. On an FPO model, can we form an FPO, a large FPO to control this? And all that. And some of it in chicken especially is because we don't process our chicken. And that is what creates issues, right? We have festivals. Now, that's not going to go anywhere. You can sit and crib and all that. There are, days when people will not eat, or, sometimes. And that's part of our culture, right? I mean, that's part of that. And then people come back and eat with vengeance after that. So that's also there, right? And so that is going to be there. Now, you can't wish away those things. And neither do we. It's not, that's how it's going to be. So I think part of that system is, models are available. We have to become more, we have to process more. Because what is happening, Suresh, is when we are not processing, a big part of, how do I say, the waste that these chickens, they throw it away. But there's nothing that is, everything has a value. You know how many containers of chicken feed China wants right now from India? But because we don't have processing, we are not able to take advantage of it.
Oh, I see.
You'll not believe they are ready to take close to 100 containers a month. But entire India, we don't produce more than 20 containers a month.
There's a huge opportunity there.
Huge. And, that's what I'm saying. So everything is useful. But today, in the way we are doing it, 30% of the chicken is being thrown away. And it's a nuisance, because it goes into landfills and all that, and that is not how it's supposed to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with properly, and it's a public health issue.
That's true.
Right now, it's becoming a municipality's problem. Now that's where I think we have to, again, instead of talking about changing all India, which is not going to happen. So that's what I'm proposing to the body, saying that why don't you take one city, show it as a model,
localize it,
right? And then once it's proven there, then everybody picks it up very fast.
That's true.
Right? You're seeing that change. That's how change happens in India, right?
In fact, I could go on and on, and the way you speak about the industry, the way you express yourself, because you've been there, done that, so you've seen it. And naturally, the question obviously would be in terms of the maturity of the industry, the growth, which you all spoken about. Thank you for speaking to us at HYBIZ, Mr. Suresh, and wonderful again. After maybe about 5 years, we're speaking, and the industry has changed a lot. At the same time, I think it's not changed at all.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. The egg
Thanks, Suresh.
the chicken still lays the egg.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Suresh Chitturi, Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Srinivasa Farms, talking about the Indian poultry industry, chicken and egg. And this time there's no confusion which came first. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.